So hey, welcome back to another of my videos. So today, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be rating the consoles that I own in my collection currently on a tier list. But enough rambling. I'm going to get into the tier list of ranking the consoles that I currently own. So first on this tier list, we have the Wii. The Wii is a console that I grew up with, so I know a lot about the Wii. I love the Wii. The Wii is one of my favorite consoles. However, the Wii has two glaring issues for me. The first one being the control. Nintendo with this console set out to appeal to a more casual market, as well as appealing to Nintendo fans. The controls for the Wii were, it was motion controls. I just happened to be sitting in my gaming setup, so that's why I can just grab these things. And then you could also get the nunchuck attachment, which means you have kind of like the nunchuck here, and then this. So the control schemes was always quite weird with the Wii, which meant that games that kind of were ported over to it had weird control schemes. The second problem with the Wii is the fact that it had weaker hardware than the other consoles, but developers still wanted to put their games on the Wii because the consumer base was so large, because so many people bought it. I do love my Wii and I do collect for the Wii. Just because of those problems doesn't make it a bad console by any means. It's a great console and it's definitely one that's very interesting to collect for. There's still games being released for the Wii today. But anyway, we're gonna put Wii. See, childhood me would put this in S tier, but critical me, I'm going to put the Wii in B tier. The second one is my absolute child, the PlayStation 2. This is the console that got me into video games. There's a lot of nostalgia for the PlayStation 2, but the PlayStation 2 is my most collected for console. It's my most played console. It is my favorite. I think every collector has their own kind of console that they love, and mine is the PlayStation 2. It has got a huge library. Library spans so many different genres and everything. I actually prefer, and I only realized this the other day, I was playing my PlayStation 2 because I'm currently going through my backlog and I have a ton of PlayStation 2 games to get through. This is the DualShock 2, and I find the DualShock 2 still to this day so comfortable to hold, and I actually prefer the analog sticks on the DualShock 2. I actually prefer it to the PlayStation 4. If I can grab my PlayStation 4 controller, I'm making a mess of this. The thing is, right, these analog sticks go in. They're concave, I think it's called. And the other ones are convex. I actually prefer the PlayStation 2 ones because they're bigger. And I feel like these ones are too tiny. I like the DualShock 4. It's a comfy controller. But I'm just making the point that the PlayStation 2 controller still holds up to this day. Great games, great controller, great user interface as well. Most of the games still hold up in this day and age. To me, I think that the games have aged very, very well on the PlayStation 2. So yeah, I'm gonna put PlayStation 2 in S tier. Now we're on to the 3DS. This was the first console that I bought on launch. I actually did a video where I talked in depth about my experience with the 3DS and my stories about it, so if you want to see that, card up there. Yeah, the 3DS is definitely a console that I hold dearly. I do love it. It introduced me to retro gaming through the Ambassador program, but there is also some glaring problems with the 3DS. The 3D, who uses the 3D anymore? It's a thing you kind of turned on once and went, wow, this is so cool, and then never used again. There are some great games on the 3DS. Mostly first-party Nintendo games. I didn't see it getting a lot of third-party support, and I think that's kind of what let it down. And it had Animal Crossing. Well, the Wii had Animal Crossing too, I suppose. Ugh, 3DS. Oh no, I think I'm gonna have to put the 3DS along with the Wii in B tier. So I'm gonna put the 3DS in B tier. Or maybe I should put it in an A tier because it did. I know the Wii eShop was what's called the Wii shopping channel. I know it was fantastic, but the 3DS one was pretty good as well. It did have a rocky start. The Wii never had a rocky start. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to move the Wii up to A tier, and I'm going to put the 3DS in B tier. Okay, the next one is Xbox 360. This is originally my brother's console when I was growing up, so I only got to play it like in little bits, but then he was getting rid of it and I wanted it, so he gave it to me for Christmas. So that was my Christmas present from my brother, was his old Xbox and a couple of games. The Xbox 360 is a great console, but there were some issues with the Xbox 360. No console is without its flaws, you know? And I think its biggest flaw, first of all, the ads on the home menu. Whose idea was that? The only problem I can think of with the Xbox 360 is the user interface for me. I don't like it. I prefer the cleaner look of the Sony. The PlayStation 3 at that time had the XMB, and so did the PSP. Loved these user interfaces. They were just cleaner to me. The Xbox One always felt that little bit more cluttered. I think in hardware terms and games, I mean, Xbox had pretty good games, but I think I'm going to put the Xbox 360 in the 3DS along with B tier. For me, the Xbox has never been one of those consoles that has jumped out at me. Like, I will never buy an Xbox at launch. Not because I hate Microsoft or whatever, it's just the Sony exclusives appeal more to my tastes than Xbox exclusives. Not saying that Xbox exclusives are bad. Yeah, but anyway, we're gonna put Xbox 360 in B tier because it's a great console with some great games, but just doesn't appeal to me as much. I did sink a lot of hours in GTA 5 on it, however, because I didn't have a PlayStation 4 at the time. At the minute I got a PlayStation 4, I mean, I play it a lot. But speaking of PlayStation 4, that is the next one we have. So yeah, I have the original PlayStation 4. This is actually the one that came with Killzone. It's one of those consoles where it has so many games. Like, even now, near the end of the PlayStation 4's life cycle, it is so many games. I mean, we've just got The Last of Us Part 2, we're getting Ghost of Tsushima, and then we're also getting Cyberpunk. I just think the games of PlayStation 4 are great. The user interface is fantastic. Just, it's a great console. I'm going to put PlayStation 4 S tier along with my PlayStation 2. Those two consoles to me are just, they're up there. Next one we have is the NES. Now, do not be mistaken, I do not own an original NES. This is actually the NES Classic Edition. So the NES Classic Edition, basically, I'm not like the most versed in NES games because it just wasn't my generation, but I've always wanted to own an original NES. And I probably will buy one at some point. I do play a lot of NES games on the Switch because I have the Nintendo Switch Online. I have the NES Classic Edition. I have NES games on the Ambassador Edition for my 3DS. So I have played NES games and I love them. I think they're so cool. I'm gonna put the NES Classic Edition. I don't pick it up and play it as much as I probably should. I'd say this has to make it into B tier because Galga. Plus the price on it was pretty decent. The box was awesome. I still have the box for it. And it's got HDMI out, save states, and it's a brilliant console. The next one is the PlayStation 1. I do have my original PlayStation 1. It's actually my dad's. I think him and mum were married, and then he got the PlayStation 1 at Christmas or something. And my dad gave it to me and my brother when we were younger to play on. Then he got us the PlayStation 2, but I asked him recently, I think it was like a few years ago, could I have it? Like, could I have the PlayStation 1? And he said, yeah, take it. Great games. I mean, one of my favorite games on this console is the original Rayman. The original Rayman is class. It is so hard. I will never complete that game because of how hard it is. Here's something about the PlayStation 1. I know it isn't really the console, it's more the games of the console, but in the PAL region, some of you will know this, back in the day we had like really thick instruction manuals because it had to cover Europe. It had English, French, German, Italian, like a bunch of languages, so the booklet was quite thick. In turn, we all had to have like thicker PS1 cases. I'm probably the only person that gets annoyed about that, but I do. But also, I don't use my PlayStation 1. If I'm gonna play a PlayStation 1 game, I play it on my PlayStation 2. It's the best way to play PlayStation 1 games. Although the original console is cool, it was the start of a legacy, and we wouldn't have like the iconic PlayStation brand that Sony has created. So I mean, this console was good. I'm going to put PlayStation 1 in D tier. I'm sorry, PlayStation 1. I don't think it deserves to be up in this realm, like up here, and I definitely don't think it deserves any lower than D. Next on my list is the Nintendo Switch. Ooh, my Switch. I love my Switch. However, I'm very mad about this Joy-Con has started drifting. I was like, people were saying like, oh, Joy-Con drift, my Joy-Con's drifting, and I had my Switch like for 3 years, and I was like, I haven't had Joy-Con drift. The next day, this started drifting. That's the only problem I've had with my Switch. But there is another problem with the Switch in a way that it is a lot of just ported over Wii U games. But that isn't much of a problem for me because I don't want to own a Wii U. The Switch has some great games. Like any game that's on the Switch, you can guarantee that you're going to have a good time with it. I haven't seen very much bloatware with the Switch. And I feel like it has this kind of perfect balance between casual gamers and more hardcore players. So I think the Switch has got the balance right. And also like it's got a ton of indie support as well. With the eShop, it has a ton of physical releases alongside like, the PlayStation 4 with companies like Limited Run, I Am 8-Bit, Strictly Limited Games, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean like the Switch, there's a lot of love for the Switch. And I do really, really love my Switch. Apart from that Joy-Con drifting starting to really bug me, I think Switch deserves S tier for what it's done for Nintendo. Next console we have is the PSP. Some of you that have watched my game collection video will go, you don't have a PSP. I don't have a PSP currently, but I figured I'd put this in here because I owned a PSP back in the day and I did really love my PSP, and the only reason I don't have one anymore is because the motherboard in my PSP died and I couldn't afford to get it fixed. And PSP for me was just this is an all in all great console. I mean, I didn't have a lot of games with my PSP growing up, but the games I did have, I loved. I kind of brought the PlayStation 2 on the go. That for me at that age, I got it when I was 8. That was amazing to me. And there's so many great games on the PSP as well. And it's handheld, which appeals to somebody like me that's on the go quite a lot. I'm gonna put PSP in C tier. I think it fits well in C tier. PlayStation Vita. I have a lot of love for the Vita. Great games in the PlayStation Vita. Also, PS Vita, you can buy a lot of PSP games in the Vita and they play really, really well. The thing, and also PlayStation Vita still to this day has great indie support from some of those companies I mentioned earlier, like Super Rare and stuff like that. I really wish the PS Vita had done better for Sony because I'd love to see Sony jump back into the handheld market. And also you had the remote play with the PlayStation 4. You could use it as another controller for the PlayStation 4. Not a lot of people knew you could do that, but you can. It's a great console and it's quite powerful for, what it is. And the one that I have has an OLED screen and it looks fantastic. I can't say much bad about the Vita. I mean, its sales was quite sad, so it didn't see like a lot of games, but the games that are on it are pretty decent. Like, the Uncharted on the PS Vita was my first Uncharted. I'm gonna put it along with PSP in C tier. Okay, Game Boy Color. I bought the Game Boy Color on a whim. I was starting to get into retro gaming. I didn't necessarily know that game collecting was a thing back then. I just knew that I liked old games and I wanted to kind of get into that a little bit more. So I bought a Game Boy, and I specifically wanted a Game Boy Color because it was colorful. I call it my Tetris machine for a joke because I got Tetris for the Game Boy this year, and I play Tetris on this thing quite a lot because it's a great version of Tetris. I haven't delved into the games enough. I know I do want to collect more for Game Boy, and I do want to explore the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color library a lot more. I just haven't had the chance to. I'm gonna put the Game Boy Color along with the PlayStation 1 in D tier. Doesn't mean it's a bad console, it's something that I need to delve into a little bit more. None of these are bad consoles, by the way, they're all great. Now we're stuck with the 2DSs. Okay, so we're gonna start off with the big boy, the original DS. This is my very, very, very first handheld. I remember being bought that for Christmas so vividly, and the first game I got for it was Scooby-Doo. I have this console still. I never play it. I have the charger and everything, like it still works, it works fine. I'm never ever playing it again. It's a horrible experience to go back and play DS games on the original DS. The 3DS plays DS, DSi, and 3DS games. You don't need an original DS anymore. There is no call for an original DS to still play DS games in this day and age, unless it's your only way to play DS games. In all fairness, the DS has a great library of games. The legacy of the DS though, I mean, it's done wonders for Nintendo, but the original DS I just can't get behind. It's going on E tier. None of these are going on F tier because I love them. I mean, I have a lot of good memories with the original DS, but I went back to play it recently and oh god, no. Although the thing I really loved about the DS's was that it had Game Boy Advance backwards compatibility, and that's how I play my Game Boy Advance games. And that brings us to the DS Lite. If you don't have a 3DS and you don't really want to buy a 3DS but you want to play DS games, get a DS Lite. The screen is better than the original DS. It feels so much better than the original DS. It has a lot more things going for it. It's lighter, it's less clunky. It's literally just an improved version of the DS, and they're roughly the same price. Like, there's not much price difference between them nowadays. There's really no need for a DS Lite anymore. Like, I really want a Game Boy SP, and I know I'm going to buy a Game Boy SP, and I'm probably never going to pick up any of my DS's again, because the 3DS plays all DS games, and the Game Boy Advance just play all my Game Boy Advance games. I'm gonna put it in D tier, I think. It was better than the original DS, but it's also, like, not the best. Like, I don't go back to that console. If I want to play DS games, I play them on my 3DS. But anyway, guys, that is my current rating for the consoles that I currently have in my collection. This is just for a bit of fun. Like, obviously, I don't hate any of these consoles. I love these consoles, I collect for these consoles, but there's obviously going to be consoles that I like more than other consoles. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, please give a big thumbs up, and also subscribe if you love, and also leave a comment down below as to where you would put my consoles, and if you think my rating is, you know, if you like my tier list. But thank you guys so much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video.